Hi everyone. Today we're gonna talk about the Leetcode 22, generate parentheses. The problem asks us to use a given n pairs of parentheses. Write a function to generate all combinations of well-formed parentheses. For example, here he gives us an n for 3. Then that is all the solutions with the left quote and right quote. So how about we start from a graph to see what kind of thing we can find. If we start with a root node, then because it's a parenthesis, so it has to start with a left one. So it's like left one. And then for the left one, we start from two routes. One is left one with left one. The other thing is left one and another left one. Because in total, we can have left 3 and right 3. Right? This is n. This is n equals 3. And then keep going. If we go back, then it can go to quote, 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 or quote, quote, right quote. So you can see like for all the left node, we can add up to a left quote unless it reaches up to the maximum size of n. And for the right quote here, it's always come with it should be a right quote. And then it can, unless it covers up, for example, like here, it can only add one left quote and no longer any right quote, because if the right quote is equals to the number of its right quote, then we can't add up another right quote, right? So there is two rows. The first row, we write it here. So actually we have two rows here. First row, left quote less than n, then we can add left quote. And second row, if right quote less than left quote, then we can add right quote. And meanwhile, we can see the two rows is always going at the same iteration, which means we can start two rows at the same time. Okay, let's see how we can implement this. For this, we wrote a backtracking. Then if the length of list equals n2, which means if we generate a list which sums up to the length of the maximum length we need, then we add it to our answer. So we need list answer n, and then there is another two rows we need to implement here. If left less than n, then we backtracking to add less, which means list equals, because we add left to that, right? Equals this is our list, and then answer, and then n, and then left plus 1, and right didn't change. So it should be left and right. And then if our left less than right, if our left larger than right, which means if we right equal to less than left, right is the same as the second row, then we need to add the right row. But here we add the right row, and answer, then n, then left, then right plus 1. Because we need to make up the two routes at the same time. So for the if, the first row, we're just going all the way down, and for the second row, we go this way. So we both add left quote and right quote at the same time to loop through the whole tree. So you can see any of the child nodes you want, you just add all of the nodes in the backtracking, and this is how the river is going. So that's the end. Because we've already returned it to the answer, we need to keep the answer. And then do the backtracking for the whole node. For the whole node, the list should be an empty one, since it's our recursion list. And then the answer, we track it all the time, right? And then n, it's come from the question. And then left should be 0, and right should be 0. After all, we return answer. And then we submit it. Correct.